Thunder rattled the office windows as Maya Carter found the email that sliced her breath. The promotion she earned was credited to someone else. Her hands shook, and the cursor blinked like a taunt. Maya said, "They erased me." The lights flickered, and the storm pressed its fists against the glass. She remembered late nights no one saw, and the quiet pride she never voiced. Ethan Park stepped from the doorway, eyes wary. Ethan said, "Tell me what happened." She swallowed the old fear that kept her small. Maya said, "I did the work, and my name is gone." The storm answered like an alarm. The building groaned as if it knew, and Maya weighed the old rule that kept her quiet. Ethan said, "Do you want to file it tonight?" She heard the unspoken risk breathing between them. The last time she spoke up, doors closed. She had learned to swallow storms to keep her job. Maya said, "If I move, I lose the little I have." Ethan's mouth quirked with a tired edge. Ethan said, "If you freeze, they take the rest." Her heartbeat paced with the rain. She pictured the girl who hid in class to avoid attention. Maya said, "I am tired of being invisible." Maya opened a folder of drafts, the ones she wrote and saved under generic names. Ethan said, "You kept receipts." She nodded, shame catching with pride. Silence hummed with the server's low breath. Maya said, "I learned to prove myself or vanish." She pulled up timestamps, comments, and version history. Ethan said, "This is enough to make noise." She remembered family dinners where speaking up cost her peace. The storm offered cover, and she felt its rhythm in her ribs. Maya said, "Then we push." They drafted a report that did not beg. Ethan said, "Facts first, then impact." She shaped sentences like anchors, steady and undeniable. The keys clicked like rain against a tin roof. Maya said, "State the pattern, not the pain." Yet the pain threaded every line she wrote. Ethan said, "We can add precedent." She attached policies no one read. The screen filled with quiet evidence. Maya said, "Send to compliance and R." Her throat tightened, but her spine did not bend. She hovered over send, and the old fear reached for her. Ethan said, "You already did the hardest part." A thunderclap folded the room, and dust lifted from the blinds. She thought of every meeting where her ideas wore someone else's name. Maya said, "If this ends me, let it end the hiding too." Ethan nodded with a half smile that softened nothing. Ethan said, "Whatever comes, you are not alone." The cursor glowed like a tiny doorway. Maya said, "I step through now." She pressed send, and the storm applauded. The next morning, sunlight slipped through the blinds in broken lines, striping the kitchen table where Maya sat unmoving. Her coffee cooled untouched, steam fading like her confidence. She thought of her mother's constant warnings. "Stay quiet, stay safe." Ethan's late-night words echoed, blunt but steady, "Don't freeze." She whispered, "I wanted them to see me, not erase me." The walls felt too close, the silence pressing in. Childhood memories of raising her hand in classrooms, only to be ignored, surfaced, uninvited. Maya pressed her palm flat to the table, grounding herself. She said, "I am tired of living unseen." Maya scrolled through photos on her phone, group shots from years of work. In every picture, she stood at the edges, blurred, half-lit, forgotten. She whispered, "I was always there, and they never saw me." The ache came sharp, not from rejection but from invisibility worn as habit. Ethan's voice replayed, harsh but true, "Your silence feeds them." She clenched the phone tighter, jaw set. Maya said, "No more edges, no more shadows." She straightened slowly, spine stiffening against years of erasure. For the first time she felt the possibility of standing fully in the frame, no longer hidden. Later, Maya walked through the city streets, the towers looming, glass facades, reflecting ambition built on exclusion. Her heels clicked sharp against concrete, her rhythm stronger with every step. She thought of every meeting where her ideas wore another's name, every office door that had closed too fast. Maya said, "They wanted me to blend in, but I carry fire they can't contain." The crowd surged, strangers brushing by, faceless but familiar in their quiet hunger. She pulled her jacket tighter, not against the cold but against the fear trying to cling. For the first time, the air pushed her forward, not back. She ducked into a small bookstore cafe, the warmth wrapping around her like a shield. The hum of turning pages and grinding beans soothed her restless storm. Ethan sat waiting in a corner booth, his notebook open, gaze sharp as always. He smirked slightly. Ethan said, "You look different today." Maya slid into the seat, lips curling into a faint iron-edged smile. Maya said, "I decided to stop shrinking." Ethan scribbled something she couldn't see. He said, "Good, because they'll hit harder now that you're standing taller." She let his warning settle like armor, not fear. Maya said, "Then let them try." As they left, Maya lingered outside under the awning, rain beginning to mist against her coat. The neon sign flickered above, painting the wet sidewalk in broken light. She inhaled deeply, the scent of wet asphalt pulling memories of storms past. Her father's quiet lessons echoed. Resilience is found in small steps, not applause. Maya whispered, "I am more than their silence." Cars passed, headlights blurred in puddles. The ache inside her had not vanished, but it no longer ruled her. Ethan's presence was steady at her side, though silent. She said, "They will see me, even if I must burn through shadows." The rain seemed to carry her vow into the night. Maya returned to the office with the weight of her report, sent the silence colder than usual. She caught eyes that darted away, whispers that stopped when she neared. Maya said, "They already know." The tension pressed against her skin, sharp and heavy. She passed her manager's door and saw laughter spill without her. Memories of being the ghost at meetings burned alive again. Ethan texted her, "Stand tall." She forced her breath to steady, each step an act of defiance. Maya said, "If they want to push me out, I will not leave quietly." At her desk, Maya found her login locked and files inaccessible. The screen rejected her again and again, as if she had been erased. Maya said they moved fast. Heat pooled in her chest, shame clawing at her ribs. Ethan leaned over her cubicle wall, his voice low. Ethan said, "They're trying to bury it before it breathes." Maya clenched her fists, memory flashing of all the nights her work carried them. Maya said, "They will not bury me." Her voice cracked, but did not fall. The room's stillness felt like a test she refused to fail. Later in the break room, colleagues whispered in corners, eyes flicking toward her. The air was thick with judgment, false sympathy, and silent accusation. Maya said, "Do you see me now?" under her breath. One coworker offered a tight smile, another turned away. She felt like a stranger in her own workplace, exiled without leaving. Ethan entered, gaze sharp, breaking the weight. Ethan said, "They only have power if you shrink." She wanted to believe him, yet her chest felt hollow. Maya said, "I'm holding, even if my hands shake." The manager finally called her in, his office reeking of false calm. He gestured for her to sit, smile tight with rehearsed words. He said, "We value your contributions, but perhaps this environment no longer fits you." Rage burned up her spine, hot and unyielding. Maya said, "You mean you value my silence?" He looked away, papers aligned like shields on his desk. She remembered all the times she stayed late while he left early. Maya said, "You want to race me this time." The storm outside returned in her chest, steady and loud. After the meeting, Maya stepped into the stairwell, the silence echoing louder than any word spoken. She pressed her hands against the cold railing, heart racing like it might break free. Ethan found her there, his face unreadable but steady. Ethan said, "This is when they expect you to fold." Her chest heaved as she whispered, "I almost did." He shook his head, blunt and sharp. Ethan said, "Almost doesn't count." She straightened slowly, gripping the rail like a lifeline. Maya said, "Then I climb, even if my legs shake." The following days dragged like lead, each hour heavier than the last. Maya sat at her desk, ignored emails piling in her inbox, tasks reassigned without a word. She felt erased, a ghost lingering in plain sight. Maya said, "They want me invisible." A sharp pang rose when her colleagues avoided her eyes. She remembered her younger self wishing only to belong. Ethan texted, "Hold your ground." But her ground felt like sand slipping beneath her. Maya said, "I am losing myself." The hum of fluorescent light sounded like judgment. Silence became her cruelest enemy. She left the office late, walking through rain that soaked her shoulders. Cars splashed by, their headlights blinding in the wet dark. The city noise pressed against her ribs like an accusation. Maya said, "I am drowning in silence louder than storms." Her reflection in a puddle looked like a stranger, tired eyes, lips drawn thin. She remembered childhood evenings hiding from shouts at home, convincing herself she was safe if unseen. The rain stung like truth against her skin. Maya said every battle feels the same. Meme against shadows. She pressed forward, unsure of where the street would end. Back home, the apartment felt colder than usual, shadows stretching long. She dropped her bag and collapsed into the chair, head buried in her palms. Maya said, "Maybe they were right. I was never enough." The thought scorched her chest, heavier than any dismissal. Childhood voices rang. "Stay small. Stay safe." Her phone buzzed with Ethan's message, unread. She felt unworthy of his belief. A tear slipped, bitter and hot, landing on her sleeve. Maya said, "I can't carry this forever." The silence around her thickened, until even her own breath felt like intrusion. The next day she walked into a meeting and found her work presented under another name once again. Her chest caved as she listened to the applause. Maya said, "This is what breaking feels like." She clenched her jaw, nails biting into her palms. Ethan caught her eye across the table, a silent reminder she was not alone, yet his gaze couldn't silence the roar inside her head. The manager beamed, pride built on her stolen hours. Maya whispered, "I don't exist to them." She sank deeper into her chair, swallowed by the weight of erasure. After the meeting, she hid in the restroom, gripping the sink as her reflection blurred. Water ran, masking the sound of her shallow breaths. Maya said, "I am slipping away." She imagined vanishing completely, no voice, no trace. For a moment, hopelessness felt easier than the fight. The mirror reflected someone small, fragile, unlike the woman who pressed send days ago. Ethan's voice replayed, "Almost doesn't count." She pressed her palms hard against the counter, searching for strength in the cold surface. Maya said, "I am still here, even if I am broken." The morning after her collapse, Maya arrived early, the office still wrapped in silence. She opened her inbox without expectation, bracing herself for the usual neglect. But an anonymous email sat waiting. Her pulse thudded as she clicked, eyes locking on files attached. Rows of spreadsheets opened like doors, filled with altered reports, erased names, fabricated approvals. She whispered, "What is this?" Ethan hurried over when she called him, his face tightening as he scanned the screen. Ethan said, "This is dynamite." Her hands shook, but her gaze hardened. Maya said, "Someone wants me to fight with fire." She dug deeper into the files, heart hammering as layers unfolded. Dozens of drafts she authored had new names plastered over them. Entire projects she built were reassigned with fake timestamps, false trails designed to erase her. She whispered, "They built an empire on my silence." Her breath came ragged, anger mixing with disbelief. Ethan's tone sharpened like a blade. Ethan said, "This is bigger than you, Maya." The truth wasn't just her stolen recognition. It was a machine of exploitation. She felt fear gnaw, but pride stir too. Maya said, "If I reveal this, everything could burn." Ethan said, "Then light the match." That evening, Maya met Ethan in a small diner, neon buzzing faintly like an anxious heartbeat. Rain smeared the windows, muffling the city's chaos. She slid her laptop across the table, breath shallow but voice steady. Maya said, "This isn't just about me anymore." Ethan's brows furrowed as he flipped through the files, each page deepening his scowl. Ethan said, "They've been stealing from more than you." Maya's stomach twisted, realizing her story was part of a pattern, countless voices silenced. Maya said they erased others too, and no one spoke. Her hands trembled, but her eyes didn't lower. Ethan said, "Then you speak for them now." Later that night, Maya sat in her dim apartment, the glow of her desk lamp fighting shadows. The files sat open, undeniable proof of betrayal and theft. She stared at them, heart torn between fear and resolve. She whispered, "I thought I was fighting for me, but this is for all of us." Memories surfaced, colleagues overlooked, ideas stolen, voices silenced in boardrooms. Every line of data carried their weight. Her fear clawed inside her, begging her to stop. But another voice pressed louder. Her own. Ethan's blunt reminder replayed. "Light the match," she whispered. "This truth is heavier than fear." Each click saving files to a drive felt like laying bricks on a foundation of courage. The next morning, gray clouds split open as the sun poured gold across the city. In the parking lot outside their office, Maya stood with Ethan, the small drive clutched like a weapon in her hand. Her heartbeat thundered, fear whispering one last plea to retreat. She looked at Ethan, his half-smile blunt yet proud. Maya said, "This isn't just evidence, it's truth." He nodded, voice low, but unshaken. Ethan said, "Truth doesn't whisper, it shakes foundations." She inhaled deeply, remembering every erasure, every silence forced on her, every shadow she had survived. Maya said, "Then let them fall." Sunlight spilled across her face, burning away the gray. She wasn't just reacting anymore. She was leading the charge, her silence gone forever. Maya stood frozen outside the boardroom, the drive burning like a live ember in her pocket. The glass walls reflected her face, tired yet unbroken. She whispered, "This is the moment." Executives inside laughed softly, unaware of the storm about to crash. Her palms were damp, but her heartbeat marched steady. Ethan brushed past, pausing just long enough to meet her eyes. Ethan said, "Make them hear you, no matter how loud they try to silence." She gripped the handle, recalling every betrayal, every dismissal. Maya said, "I carried their shadows too long." The door opened with a cold breath of fluorescent light, and she stepped in. The room hushed as she entered, polished executives glancing up with faint annoyance. Her manager smirked, leaning back like a victor awaiting surrender. Maya placed the drive on the table, her hands no longer trembling. Maya said, "You've taken enough from me." Silence deepened, whispers faded. She connected the files, the projector humming alive as spreadsheets and falsified records exploded onto the screen. Gasps rippled and faces tightened. Maya said, "This is truth. Not my word. Your signatures, your theft." For once their eyes stayed locked on her, unable to look away. The manager shot up from his chair, voice sharp and rehearsed. He said, "These files are meaningless out of context." His smile cracked under the pressure, but his arrogance clung on. Maya inhaled, grounding herself. She highlighted timestamps, drafts, and signatures, her voice cutting clean. Maya said, "The context is theft. Erase my name once and you steal my credit. Erase me again and you steal history." Ethan stepped forward from the wall, tone steady and blunt. Ethan said, "She isn't alone. The evidence stands." The manager's fists clenched white. Maya's voice carried louder now. Her anger turned weapon. The room erupted into chaos. Executives snapping, voices colliding, papers shuffled like shields. Maya's manager barked over them all, "You're finished, Maya. You'll never work again." The words hit like stone, but her shoulders didn't bow. Maya said, "No, you're finished hiding." She loaded more files, each document slicing through their lies, her screen glowing like fire against their polished armor. Colleagues pressed against the glass wall outside, eyes wide as truth leaked into daylight. Ethan's presence at her back felt like steel. Maya said, "Erase me, and you erase yourselves." Her voice cut sharper than the storm she once swallowed. The shouting died slowly, the air humming with shock. Maya's breath steadied as she raised her chin, her voice sharp and unwavering. Maya said, "This ends now. No more silence, no more theft." The words cracked through the room like thunder, freezing every face. Ethan stepped closer, his voice a calm echo. Ethan said, "The truth doesn't whisper, it shakes foundations." The manager slumped, sweat cutting lines across his face. Maya scanned the room, her voice soft but unshakable. Maya said, "I'm done being invisible. I am unbroken." For the first time she felt the power of her own fire, burning brighter than fear. The boardroom broke apart slowly, like a structure collapsing in silence. Chairs scraped, papers shuffled, and polished shoes hurried toward the exit, leaving behind the echo of their downfall. Maya remained at the table, unmoved, as if rooted by a storm that had finally shifted in her favor. The files still glowed across the projector, stubborn lines of truth refusing to dim. Ethan stepped beside her, his voice low, calm, the weight of finality in every word. Ethan said, "They'll scramble to cover it, but you've already cracked the foundation." Her throat tightened, not from fear but from release. Maya said, "For years, I let silence bury me. Today, I buried silence instead." She looked at her reflection in the glass wall, this time not blurred, not erased, but alive. A woman burning with her own fire. She whispered, "This fight was never just mine to carry." Outside, the storm clouds fractured at last, sunlight cutting through steel-gray skies and igniting the glass towers in molten gold. Colleagues lingered near the doors, clustered in hushed circles, eyes flicking toward her with unease, awe, and something like respect. Maya's heels struck sharp against pavement, her steps deliberate, her spine unbent. Ethan followed a half-step behind, giving her the ground she had earned, silent but steadfast. She thought of every meeting where her name had been erased, of the countless nights her brilliance was buried. "No more," Maya said. "They will see me now, even if they refuse to look." The city's hum rose around her, no longer noise but rhythm, alive, steady, aligned with her breath. For the first time she felt like the world moved with her instead of against her. She walked, not as someone escaping shadows, but as someone carrying light. That evening, Maya sat once more at her kitchen table, the same place where fear had once crushed her, where silence once felt safer than breath. But tonight, the stillness carried no weight of shame. The lamp glowed warm against the dark, casting long shadows that no longer threatened but bore witness. She opened her laptop, reviewing the files one final time. Each page was a scar she had carried, each document a wound turned weapon. With steady hands, she forwarded them to investigators beyond the company's walls. Her pulse raced, but her breath stayed even. Maya said, "No more hiding. Not for me, not for those still buried in silence." She leaned back, exhaling into the quiet, her shoulders finally lighter. For the first time in years, the silence around her felt earned, not as chains, but as a sanctuary she had carved for herself. The following day, the office was buzzing, whispers spilling faster than footsteps. Maya walked through the corridors, and for once, heads didn't turn away. They turned toward her. Some looked with quiet gratitude, others with nervous awe. No one could erase her now. Ethan leaned casually against her desk, his tone still blunt but softened by pride. Ethan said, "You tore the silence wide open. They'll never stitch it shut again." She met his gaze with a faint smile, not one of victory but of release. Maya said, "I fought for myself, but I also fought for everyone they erased before me." His smirk sharpened into respect, and for a moment the hum of the office felt different, less cold, more human. For the first time, Maya wasn't carrying her voice alone. The truth itself had become a chorus, and she was no longer unseen. That night, Maya stood at her apartment window, the city sprawling beneath her like a constellation of fire. Neon lights pulsed, headlights flowed like rivers, and skyscraper windows glimmered like countless untold stories. Her reflection in the glass no longer showed the timid girl who once hid in classrooms, nor the woman erased at work. Instead, it revealed someone remade by storms, by scars, by defiance, turned into resilience. She whispered, "I am no longer invisible." The words rang not like rebellion, but like truth rooted in her soul. Ethan's memory echoed, "Truth doesn't whisper, it shakes foundations." A soft smile broke across her lips, born not of triumph, but of freedom. Maya said, "I am unbroken, and I am not alone." The city's hum rose to meet her heartbeat. She turned from the window, her shadow stretching behind her, ready to step into a tomorrow no longer stolen but claimed.